Let's roll, baby. Welcome in. It is the Week 4 edition of the Ringer Sunday pregame here on YouTube TV. FanDuel TV, the wise guys are ready to rock and roll. Hopefully a lot of winners coming your way. John Jastremski alongside Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer. And House, I got to start with you. What a week 3. Your Commanders went outright against Cincinnati. A monstrous dog of the week. Is everything coming up, House?
It did week 3, which means everybody pay attention to week 4. We're going to try and be very humble. We're going to try and go nice and low. And we're going to tell everybody to just be careful out there. That's the message for everybody.
I understand that, House. Now, Raheem, we have seen dogs of 5.5 or greater win outright. Week 1, it happened. Week 2, it happened. Week 3, it happened. Are we looking at a market correction, or is this going to continue to be a theme of this chaotic NFL season?
I think we're definitely looking at a market correction. I think it starts today. At the end of the day, as I always say, there's only so long fake thugs can pretend, and the cream will rise to the top, and some of these bottom feeder teams will start to sink. So we always talk about there's no preseason anymore. September football is the new preseason. I think as we move on to October and November, December, you're going to start to see some of these big favorites cover.
So I wanted to start the show in good spirits. Sal, now we got to get to the bad spirits. I don't know what I'm going to be more upset about with you. Thursday, your Cowboys and this reliable kicker missing a 50-yard field goal that would have won my Cowboy minus 5.5 bet on Thursday night. Or, I don't know, getting teased with Georgia down 30 points or whatever the hell it was. Watch them go and take the lead only to not get it done in the final moments of the game. Like, what's the worst beat for me? I don't know.
The Georgia thing was terrible, but I had it marked off as a loss. I was right there with you, JJ, and then that 17-year-old just killed us. You don't expect that to happen. But as far as the Cowboys go, yes, that kick, that hook should be investigated a little bit. But come on, JJ, is there anything better than your team winning on Thursday and you could just rest on Sunday? The Cowboys are now 2-2. They're going to be what? They're going to be 15-2. No problems on defense, no injuries, nothing to worry about with this Cowboys team. Super Bowl, baby. Let's do it.
Well, you enjoy that. All I need to say is that miss by Brennan Aubrey was significant to some.
That's why you got to get the best of the number. You could have got 4.5 if you bet it earlier in the week. So I need you guys to start going to FanDuel Sportsbook on Monday, on Sunday, and betting these games early. Don't wait.
Send me the link, Raheem. Where FanDuel Sportsbook? I'll find it. I'll Google it.
I guess, boys, when you snooze, you lose. We got a lot coming your way here on the Ringer NFL Sunday pregame. We will have our dog of the week. We'll see what Joe House has in store for an encore. Later on, Anthony DeBundo is going to join us. He might even dive in to some of the baseball markets where you got some craziness going on. Game 162. Of course, we're going to have the most important aspect of this show, our wise wagers. Let's get right to it. Let's wisen up. We got to start with a bang. Week 4, Joe House. I'm giving you the T-Box. I'm giving you the honors. You're going to be like Patrick Cantlay on 18 at the President's Cup. What do we have in store for your wise wager for week 4?
Well, JJ, I told you that my inclination is to try and be cautious this week. So I'm trying to not take big swings. I'm looking at this Minnesota Vikings Green Bay Packers matchup. We're at Lambeau Field. The Packers are favored by 2.5. And the way that I'm inclined to play this is the Vikings team total over 20.5. Now, one of the things that I like very much is that the total in this game has moved a full point. It was 43.5. Now it's all the way up to 44.5. But really, when you get into some of the X's and O's here, we know that Jordan Love, if indeed it's not the ultimate rope-a-dope, if indeed LaFleur puts him out there on the football field, he's going to be compromised. Well, he's going to be compromised up against a Vikings defense that ranks among the best in the league in several of the key metrics, including percentage of drives allowing a score. And despite the fact that this Minnesota defense was up against 2 elite offenses that they held to a combined 24 points. So to me, this translates into an uptick in possessions for the Vikings offense. But really, it comes down to this. What do we know about this Packers defense? Like, it's fine to discount the opener against Philadelphia, where they gave up 34 points and 410 yards, because that was on a surface that's like probably not NFL grade unless you're out at MetLife. But since then, that Packers defense has gone up against turnover machines. Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. They have 9 takeaways through 3 games. But most concerning, their top weapon at cornerback, Jair Alexander, who is supposed to be containing our guy Double J, Justin Jefferson, is questionable. Did not practice Friday. If he doesn't go, it's a problem. This Packers run defense is vulnerable. 25th in run stop win rate. They're not getting stops on the ground against Aaron Jones in his return revenge game at Lambeau. So I like this potent Vikings offense. 26 points per game, 7th in points per drive against a defense that is, to me, not in the same class as Houston and San Francisco.
One of the feel-good stories in the NFL 3 weeks in, the upstart Minnesota Vikings house getting involved from an offensive standpoint. Now, Cousin Sal, you won your wise wager for week 3, and rumor has it in week 4, you're going right back to the well with the same team. So what would that be?
Yes, that rumor turns out to be true. All rumors are true, by the way. Don't ever reading into rumors. But yeah, I'm staying in the division there with House. I'm going with the Lions, and like you said, I had them last week, and they tried to blow that game against Arizona, at least the cover. They tried and tried and tried, but they couldn't do it. And this week they have Seattle, and they're laying 3.5 points. I like them. You know, defensively, we're looking at Aiden Hutchinson, 6.5 sacks through 3 weeks. He is one of a handful of players who have done this through 3 weeks, had 6.5 sacks. Carlton Davis has been a great pickup for them defensively. And you look at Seahawks defensively. Okay, their numbers are great, but they're kind of a paper lion or a paper Seahawk, whatever you will. They face Skylar Thompson, Jacoby Brissett, and a very, very raw Bo Nix in his debut. So the Lions 6-2 against the number in their last 8 as a betting favorite, 5-1 in their last 6 home games. You're going to have to wait till Monday night to cash this one. Goff, 8 consecutive night games he's won. I don't think 3.5 is a lot for this Lions team once they get rolling. We haven't seen their complete offense yet. I think we're going to see it on Monday. Give me my third wisest wager. How do you say it, JJ? In a row. That's the Lions minus 3.5.
We could roll with the WW for you, Sal, and we'll see if the Lions go and cooperate for the second straight week. Now, Raheem, you mentioned the idea of a market correction with a bunch of these bigger underdogs winning outright over the first 3 weeks and how that's maybe bound to change. So week 4, you're giving us a favorite. Who would that biggish, the kind of medium-sized favorite? Biggish is probably a little extreme, but a medium-sized favorite. Who do we like?
So last week, I won my wise wager backing an 0-2 team. I took the Ravens. This week, we're going to go back to a winless team. We're going to take the 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals minus 5.5. Now, this line was 4.5 in our production meeting. I personally got the best of it, but I still like it at minus 5.5. The preseason look-ahead line on this game was Bengals minus 7. And then the Carolina Panthers, they replaced Bryce Young with Andy Dalton. They beat the Raiders 36-22. So you get a little bit of a market correction here, and you're getting some value on the Cincinnati Bengals. You look at the Bengals, their offense is still top-notch. They scored 33 points against the Commanders, 25 points against the Kansas City Chiefs. They did not punt last week. They scored on 86% of their drives, but they were just a victim of an electrifying performance from Jayden Daniels and the Commanders. I don't think that happens this week. You look at this Panthers team, the defense is abysmal. They're giving up 32 points a game. You look at Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. That offense is going to be rolling this week. Last week, the Panthers had a 48% success rate against the Raiders. The Raiders kind of got whatever they wanted. So I expect the Bengals offense to do the same. Now let's look at the other side of the ball. The Carolina Panthers, they're going to be missing Adam Thielen. That's a security blanket for Andy Dalton. They're also going to be missing their 2 high-price free agent guards on the offensive line. Damian Lewis, he's out. Also, Robert Hurt, he got hurt in practice the other day. So that puts them in a tough position. And, you know, there's an interesting stat when it comes to 0-3 teams. The Bengals are the 8th road favorite in the last decade to start the game as a road favorite. Those teams are 8-0 straight up and 5-1-2 against the spread. So let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals -5.5. If you want to add an extra wager on that for a parlay, we're not going to include this here, but you could take the Bengals team total over 26.5 as well.
Raheem, I love it. Cincinnati is not starting off the year 0-4. And if Cincinnati can't go and beat the Carolina Panthers after they just won last week, then it's time to fold up the tent and end the season in 2024. And the Bengals are donezo. They will win this game and they will cover. I love it. Now, I'm going back to the well, Cousin Sal, for my wise wager here in week 4. A team that was very good to me 2 weeks ago. I should have faded them last week, but Sal beat me to the punch. I love the Arizona Cardinals. I'm sorry, House. I think they are in a great position to go and win and cover against your Washington Commanders. You think about the spot for Washington. They played a Monday night game, emotional win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Now you got a short week and you got to fly out to the West Coast. That's problematic. And let's dig deeper on Arizona over the first 3 weeks of the year. They were right there with the dominant Buffalo Bills for the first game of the year. They should have won maybe outright in Western New York. They smoked the Los Angeles Rams in week 2, and that game against Detroit was there for the taking, and we know Detroit is probably one of the better teams in the league this year. I just think this game against a suspect Washington defense profiles to be a monstrous, monstrous game for Kyler Murray. I think we're going to have points in this game. I think it's going to be back and forth, but I just think the spot favors Arizona at home, extra day of rest, letdown spot for the Washington Commanders. I will lay 3 and a hook. I'm going against the feel-good commies. Give me Arizona. They take care of business. They get back to winning ways, and they continue to be my team and my darling here in 2024. My Cardinals.
JJ,
I love it.
Have we learned the G-damn thing here? We're all taking favorites for our wisest way. I mean, House tap danced around the favorite here, but my goodness, me, you, Raheem, we haven't learned anything through 3 weeks.
Sal, our buddy Raheem said it. Market correction, right, Dream? We're talking about market correction.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, at some point, these favorites have to turn around. Otherwise, all of the public will be broke and there's nobody to place any bets. So I think at some point it's going to turn around. I think it starts this week.
And Sal, let's be fair on this. You had a favorite last week. Raheem, you had a favorite last week. They did cash for us.
That's true. We did find 1 or 2 favorites that one. All right. New week. We got it. Market correction.
Okay. SGP time, Sal. Speaking of market correction, you're going with my wise wager.
That's right.
And you are going to involve it more ways than one. So
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just, as a whole, I'm not sure. I hope we get it going. All right, Arizona money line. Let down game, House, for your Washington commies, who I like a lot this year, but not this week. Over 44.5 adjusted. Cardinals games average 50. Washington third worst, allowing 29 points a game. Murray, 225 plus passing yards. As bad as Washington is overall, their pass defense, 31st in the league, allowing almost 260 yards per game. And Marvin Harrison touchdown. We see him come alive in game 2. We saw him come alive, and then he scored last week too. Washington has allowed 9 touchdown passes this year, and worse off, 2 of those to Daniel Jones. My goodness, House, what's going on? That's pathetic. Cover your eyes. Plus 461 for that quartet.
I love this SGP. It is correlated exactly with the way I see this game playing out. So I will be riding with our main man, Cousin Sal.
Baby.
And you can be darn sure that I am going to have Cardinals and Commanders featured as a part of my 4-box at 4 o'clock. I need this game with the sound. I need it featured every which way. Speaking of which, the NFL season, it's in full swing. You don't want to miss any action when you sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. Watch every game, every Sunday, all in one place. Plus, you can watch up to 4 games live at once with Multiview, the perfect companion to your fantasy league. Sign up and bundle today. Device and content restrictions apply. Terms and embargoes apply. Well, guys, it's now time to smell out the fishiest of the fishy, the stinkiest of the stinky. Let's get made. Rat lines for week 4. Guys, I'm starting the proceedings on this because to me, this game reeks to the high heavens. It should be a New York-sized rat, but we're going to find it in the Midway. The Los Angeles Rams are coming off a tremendous win against San Francisco last week. Sean McVay, future Hall of Fame coach. Matthew Stafford, future Hall of Fame quarterback. Yet, the Los Angeles Rams are getting 3 against Eberflus and rookie Caleb Williams. That line reeks to the high heavens. Now, if you're going to go and bet it, I'm sorry, you can't take the Rams in this spot. Why? Because it's too good to be true. Better coach, better quarterback, getting points. Yet the bookmakers and our friends at FanDuel give you Chicago laying 3. I don't think so. That's a rat. That's a rat. That's a rat. Now, Sal, this team always seems to be featured in the rat line conversation. You have them as your rat line of the week. Who would that mystery team be?
Well, it's the Steelers, JJ, and you could pencil the Steelers in for me every week, I think, in the rat line. By the way, I look at the board and I see about 10 or 11 rat lines. It's harder to pick a wisest wager or a dog or anything like that. But yeah, the Steelers. Listen, this unpenetrable defense against Anthony Richardson, who throws some of the worst passes you'll ever see in 2024, and the line is only 2.5. It won't go off 3. People are saying the Steelers just need to score 17, 18 points a game and they'll win 14 games. This wouldn't be one of them. 2.5. I know the sportsish guy loves his Steelers team, but I think this is a stay away. Aside from the Sal Steel City special, which is opponent first half. That's right, House. And then Steelers to win the game. Paid 7-1 last week. We'll do about the same this week. It's going to hit about every 3 weeks or so. But in general, JJ, I think this Steelers is a stay away at -2.5. They're not getting any respect from FanDuel or anyone out there in the Vegas community.
Is that now a weekly blind bet that you just have to take every week, Sal?
Oh, the opponent and then the winner?
Special.
Yeah.
The Cousin Sal special.
Yeah, I think so. Raheem, help me out, because this is a team that may struggle to score in the first half, right? But then is going to clamp down and grind you out defensively and may come up with their hand raised at the end. So it would make sense that they would pull this off more than other teams.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, they have one of the best coaches in the game in Mike Tomlin. So it definitely makes sense that they would pull this off.
Maybe a rat, but Anthony Richardson against that Steeler defense, no thank you. No way I'm getting involved with the Colts. Okay, House, what are we smelling out for your rat line for week 4?
Well, this one is your classic example of sometimes the best bets are the ones that are never made. Reminder, we don't have to bet every game. Thankfully, I'm looking at this Browns-Raiders game that has moved 4 points over the course of the week. It opened as the Raiders favored -1.5. It now sits at Cleveland favored at -2.5. Both of these terrible teams coming off of terrible losses. The Browns at home to the Giants and the Raiders at home to the Panthers, and the market and the books just throwing their hands up. Not sure exactly what we're going to do. So injury reports come out for the Browns. They're missing their crucial tight end and Deshaun Watson safety blanket, David Njoku. They're still missing these crucial offensive linemen, Jack Conklin, Jedrick Willis, all out. They're all pro guard. Wyatt Teller is on the injured reserve. And then for the Raiders, and the reason this line jumped across is the fact that Max Crosby's been ruled out. Devontae Adams ruled out late with a hamstring. This is a pure stay away. I'm not even sure that there's a reason for anybody to watch it.
Way too many injuries. I thought Vegas had a possibility to be my wise wager in week 4. And then you mentioned it, House. No Max Crosby, no Devontae Adams, injuries for both teams, uncertainty for both teams. Yeah, reeks of a massive stay away. Now, Raheem, your rat line, you got to wait an extra day. And rumor has it the rat line and John Jastremski are going to be tied in somehow. They're tied in because it happens to feature my beloved team. What is that rat line?
We're going to go with the Titans-Dolphins. The Dolphins are laying 2.5 in this game. And this game is absolutely mind-boggling to me because you look at Will Levis. This is a guy who was a a turnover machine. He's basically Jameis Winston with none of the upside. He has 5 interceptions and 3 fumbles on the year. Meanwhile, you look at the Titans defense, they are top 10 in defensive success rate. So they could have some success defensively, but they're going up against Tyler Huntley. And Tyler Huntley, he's new to the Miami Dolphins system. And, he's only started 9 games in 4 seasons. This is a guy with 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And while he's capable of running, it's a lot different playing in Greg Roman's system in Baltimore, where you're emulating Lamar Jackson, than it is playing with another team. So I don't know what I'm going to get from him. And I look at this Dolphins defense, they are absolutely abysmal. You're talking about a defense which is 28th in passing EPA per play and 23rd in passing success rate. So I actually think Will Levis could have some success here. But at the same time, you're seeing sharp action on the Miami Dolphins push this line from about a pick'em to Dolphins -2.5. So I don't know what you do with this game. Both of these quarterbacks stink. So this is a complete stay away, and it's a complete wrap for me.
Understand it, Raheem. And remember, a little bit of a revenge angle from Miami. They lost the AFC East last year because of Will Levis and one of the more insane comebacks on Monday Night Football you're ever going to see. So you want to use that maybe for some dangling carrot of motivation. That should be in the blueprint for Mike McDaniel and company. Okay, we have our first guest pick for Week 4 in the Ringer Sunday pregame. Chris Ryan, is he going to have his Eagles and the city of Philadelphia tied into this one? Perhaps. Let's hear.
What's up, wise guys? It's Chris Ryan. I have a pick for the Eagles-Bucks game. Man, I think the Saints woke up the Bear, and the Bear looks a lot like Jalen Carter. The Eagles' defense came to life against New Orleans. Another NFC South game. I think the Eagles play like a really tight one here. So I'm going to go under 21.5 points, Bucks total points. I just feel like the Eagles tighten it up just like they did against the Saints. I don't think Baker's playing as good as Derek Carr right now. And after they spit on Devontae Smith's unconscious body, I feel like the Eagles really came back and had a little bit of spirit of Reggie White in them. So I think they keep the top on this Bucks offense. Let me know what you guys think.
Okay, Chris, this game is going to be featured as my dog of the week coming up in about 15 minutes or so. Sal, Eagles, Bucks, you think this kind of plays to a low-scoring game, as Chris is kind of indicating?
Well, I don't know. Did they really spit on Devontae Smith's unconscious body? That must have been in the director's cut. I didn't see that part of that, but we will look at that. Yeah, this is a tough one, JJ. This fell. I know you're gonna lean on this heavily, but this was one of my 14 stayaways for the week.
Nice, good to know. Okay, Raheem.
I actually have a comment about this one.
Oh, you have a thought here?
Yes, because I was, you guys watched East Coast Bias on Monday. I gave out the under 45.5 in this game. It's now down to to 41.5 right now. So I do kind of agree with Chris on this one, but I actually think the Eagles are going to go under more than the Bucks are going to go under, because the Eagles are bombed out and depleted with injuries. No Devontae Smith, what's my guy's name?
AJ Brown, Wayne Johnson. I know there's a lot of injuries.
There's just a lot of injuries for the Eagles. And then you look at the Buccaneers, they actually have healthy players. So I think the Buccaneers have a better chance of going over than the Eagles do. And, the Eagles, their secondary isn't very good. So I actually expect Chris Godwin to have a big day. And I like his over prop. So, I kind of see where he's headed from. I think it's not going to be a high-scoring game, but I would rather go Eagles team total under than Bucks.
Scattered showers, run, right?
A lot of these games, a whole lot of unders and a whole lot of run. Raheem, there's going to be no element of confusion with this one. You got an SGP. You got a winner. You found a game where you think there's going to be a whole lot of points.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 7.5 on an alternate spread. I think, all week we've been talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know how much they've stunk, but this is a divisional opponent. And the look-ahead line on this game was Texans minus 3.5. So at 6.5, you're getting a ton of value. But for the sake of this parlay, I'm going to buy through the key number of 7 and get us that hook to keep us a little bit safe. Now, you look at Jacksonville, they're 0-3. They should be motivated for this matchup. So I like them there. Then you look at C.J. Stroud. he didn't play very well last week, but he's playing a Jaguars defense which surrendered 338 passing yards to Tua in week 1 and 263 passing yards to Josh Allen last week. And, basically they were playing in extended garbage time for, most of the game. And you look at the Jaguars, they tend to play a lot of man defense. And I actually think C.J. Stroud can capitalize on that. And, that's correlated with Nico Collins. He started off really hot in 2024. He has 338 receiving yards through 3 games, 117, 135, 86. So I think he's going to have a big day. And then you look at Brian Thomas. He's leading the Jaguars in every single statistical category for a wide receiver. You're talking about targets with 17, receptions with 11, yards for 182. I've been going over his prop every single game, and at 48.5 is just not enough. So that's my same game parlay. It plays 6.3 to 1.
Love it.
I like the value, Raheem, although this crew can't quit the Jacksonville Jaguars, and there'll be more on that later on in the show. Sal, of course, anybody who is watching now on YouTube TV can give us a YouTube comment, can get involved with the show. How about this parlay? Your Mets, the Jets. It's a big day, game 162. Any involvement with a Grimace, Aaron Rodgers, two-teamer? Sal, you in?
There's nothing more Mets, JJ, I think you'll agree with this, than needing to win one game in that doubleheader tomorrow against the Braves and not getting it done against a Braves team that doesn't need any of the games, right? So I would think I would stay away from these Mets. I think they're snake bitten against the Brewers. The only thing we could hope is like the Dodgers in '88 where they crushed in the regular season and then came back around in the playoffs. But not. I don't know. I don't like the Mets today. I'm sorry. Not a good
Wow,
set.
Sal not getting involved with the Mets. And you know what is the best thing that's working in your favor? The Arizona Diamondbacks completely choking and completely falling apart, like losing Saturday night to the Padres when the Padres are basically playing nobody. So I think your Mets will get in. The thing that's going to drive you nuts, Sal, you're going to need to beat the Braves on Monday, and we know how it's gone for the Mets in Atlanta historically.
Yeah, they don't like us. They don't like us. Ever since
they don't like you, and you don't normally have success down there. We got a lot more coming your way. On the Ringer Sunday pregame, we'll have Man's Best Bet, our big underdog. We'll have our family meal where the boys get together. We got to hit one of these. We are due. All that and more. It's coming up on YouTube TV and FanDuel TV. Stay with us.
You literally were brought to tears by Jaden Daniels' 27-yard falling backwards, getting crushed touchdown pass in the end zone.
Yeah, and then hearing Joe Buck and Troy Aikman say we have the real deal. Like, it's been almost 30 years since we've had a legitimate quarterback. It's been heartache and sadness since Dan Snyder took over the team, and it's been a blessing that he's disappeared from my life.
I wonder if he's watching. You think he's watching these games? Like, what happens when you sell your team? Do you root against them? How spiteful do you think you get?
I mean, he will go down as one of the top 5 worst owners in sports history. Don't you agree, Bill Simmons?
Did you ever have interactions with them? And yes, I agree.
I've seen him from a distance. He knew that I disliked him, and he did not love me from what I was told. So it was weird. The last season he owned the team, I got an invitation to sit with him in the owner's box. I was like, I'm definitely not.
Oh my God. Why would he do that?
I don't know, man. But I'm just, it's like the witch is dead. God bless.
So Robert Griffin III, that was what, a fun, I guess, 4 months. He's not as exciting, I don't think, as Daniels, but at least back then it was like, hey, we might have our first quarterback since the good Mark Rippon year. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, he won Rookie of the Year. He beat out Andrew Luck that year. And you know, that was Kyle Shanahan running that offense. We had all those coaches, Sean McVay, et cetera. And who knew that was going to be the only year we actually had a decent quarterback, a good quarterback. I was thinking last night what it must be like to be a Patriots fan where you had 20 plus years of the same quarterback.
Yeah.
Since 2000, I think we've had 27 different starting quarterbacks. And knock on wood that this guy stays upright. He is very thin and he plays fearlessly. So I pray to God that he's in my life for 20 years. That would be as maybe after getting married, my 2 sons, that would be number 4 if he stays around for 20 years.
Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame here on YouTube TV and on FanDuel TV. A lot more coming your way. We'll have Man's Best Bet. We'll put together our family meal. Of course, you can get in touch with the show on YouTube TV. You leave us a comment. We'll read it potentially later on. Now, I've always liked Sundays, but with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, I mean, it's not my favorite day because you can watch my pathetic Dolphins, you can watch the Broncos, the Lions, the Bears, or whoever your favorite team may be, all in your living room, but not literally, of course. I mean, that might be dangerous, with those Lions and Bears. Get the bundle today. Terms and embargoes apply. Now, we are back. I'm looking forward to the Man's Best Bet because House has been the king of the dog. But before we set up the underdog of the week, House, you have an SGP involving a wise wager of a certain panelist.
Yeah, you guys know I love it when me and Raheem the Dream Palmer see the world the same way. And I tried to select this week something. I mean, we've hit 2 straight same-game parlays, including last week's, which was darn near 9-1. So this week, again, the theme is to be humble. We're looking at that Cincinnati-Carolina game, and we're not asking for extraordinary things to happen. We're going right down the middle for the Cincinnati Bengals to handle their business. This is 4 legs plus 425. The Bengals on the money line. The Bengals team total over 26.5. Raheem made a wonderful case for both of those. Joe Burrow over 1.5 passing touchdowns against this Panthers defense, which has been bad on the run and bad against the pass. They can't put pressure on anybody, and the secondary is bad. Joe Burrow and this offense last week against Washington showed us what they're capable of. They spread the ball around. They shared it. Now, the one thing I will sort of tip my hat to with the return of Andy Dalton to professional football, this Panthers offense has the semblance of NFL competency. It smells a little bit like competency. So I like the idea of Chuba Hubbard over 79.5 rushing and receiving yards because he very quietly has been pretty efficient. I'm only asking him to get around 70 yards or so on the ground and maybe another 15 to 20 receiving the ball out of the backfield. With no Adam Thielen, I think Chuba gets touches. I think he gets some of these pass receptions out of Andy Dalton. So that 4-legger gets you the plus 425. Nice and simple, right down the middle, fellas.
There are certain games that I think profile to the SGP sort of variety. Sal, to me, this is a game that fits this to a T because you want to get the Bengals involved to win, and you almost feel like they're going to have offensive success due to the fact that they're playing Carolina.
Listen, if you're going to take 2 things away from this hour-and-a-half pregame show, it's don't bet the Mets and ride Joe House's same game parlay. For God's sakes, he's already square for the year at like plus 15 units or something. So I'm going to listen to Joe House. Of course, the Bengals and the Jaguars, at least one of them is going to get right this week. And I think you're on the right side here, House.
Thank you, Cuss.
Don't bet the Mets. Don't bet the Mets. Don't bet
Write
the
it
Mets.
down,
I want to
Jacob.
bet the Mets. Okay.
Carve
We're going to
it
have
wrong.
our second guest pick of the show. Austin Gayle, our buddy from The Ringer, might have moved the market. He sent us this pick a day or 2 ago. Now, all of a sudden, the line is flipped. Austin, you moving markets? What's your play?
What's up, wise guys? Austin Gayle here from Paper Chasers. Go check it out on the Ringer Gambling Show. I'm 3-6 on the season, so not doing hot, but I've done it chasing favorites, chasing sex appeal. I'm getting into the mud this week. I'm taking a dog no one wants to bet. It's the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, plus 1.5, going to Las Vegas, take on my Las Vegas Raiders. I don't like it. It's an emotional hedge, but I got to get into the mud. I got to bet a dog here. I like Cleveland Browns, plus 1.5. Wise guys, please advise.
Austin, I appreciate the contribution. Raheem, I can never justify the Deshaun Watson bet, though, after what I've seen for the first 3 weeks of the year. Like, there are certain guys and there are certain teams that kind of find themselves on a no-fly zone. The Browns with Watson are on that list until I see otherwise. They just are.
The Raiders stink. They gave up 36 points to the Carolina Panthers last week. So if Deshaun Watson can't perform here, then it's time to take this guy out back. Because, I mean, I don't know what you do with him. And then at the end of the day, Max Crosby isn't playing. Devontae Adams isn't playing. This is a get-right spot for the Cleveland Browns. My guy, Kevin Stefanski, should be able to put something together. So I agree with Austin on this, even though I know it is an emotional hedge for him because he is a Raiders fan.
JJ, how about Austin getting a 4-point swing on this? Should we pre-tape the whole pregame show on Thursday? I feel like this is the way to do it.
Yes, we should. We're going to look a lot smarter if we do that. You know, Sal, seriously, though, there are certain games in an NFL season that kind of profile as head scratchers, shrug shoulders. I think we might look back on that Raider win against the Ravens in week 2 as one of those how in the world did that happen kind of games.
Yeah.
Do you kind of see that kind of going to that script?
Simmons and I discussed this last week, which is the outlier game, and we agreed unequivocally that, or however you say that word, that is the game. That's the game that's going to, what the hell happened? The Ravens are north of 10 wins, and the Raiders are fighting to keep their coach at between 4 and 5 wins.
Business decisions. Well, Antonio Pierce said there'll be some business decisions of our own. Well, we'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, it's time to get barking. Let's find the dog. It's man's best bet. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start the proceedings this week. I nailed the Eagles a week ago. Now I am going to fade the Eagles with a very small-sized dachshund. I am taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus the 1.5. They're going to win the game outright against Philadelphia. So many injuries for Philadelphia this week. Lane Johnson, look at the splits for the Eagles. Their record when he plays, their record when he doesn't. It is eye-opening. You throw in the fact that A.J. Brown is beat up. Devontae Smith had a concussion. A lot of factors working against the Eagles, and you have to throw in the Sirianni factor. You don't know what Nick Sirianni's going to do. He might kick a 61-yard field goal when he shouldn't. He'll end up going for it when he shouldn't. There are so many things I don't like at the moment about the way the Eagles are trending. And this is after they just won a game on the road against an undefeated team. Tampa, to me, the right side in this game, this line has plummeted. I know Tampa played poorly against Denver last week. I like them. I think they bounce back. Give me the Buccaneers outright here for man's best bet. Now, House, you have been the king of the dog. You gave us a monstrous dog last week with the Giants outright against the Cleveland Browns. The dog in week 4, not as giant, but is it a winner?
I hope so. It is indeed a tiny dog. And we've been talking throughout this show about the theme of this week 4, where there is a market correction. When I look at all of the big favorites, looking for possible upsets, the issue is now there's enough information out there. We have a sample size. We're not working off of power ratings from the summer. We now have data on these teams, information on these teams. So I do think, to Dream's point earlier, Cuz had the same idea, we're going to start seeing some of these bigger favorites cover. So I just picked what I think is the best game of the week, and the game that I'm going to enjoy very much this Sunday night, which is this Baltimore-Buffalo game. And, Buffalo has, through the first 3 weeks of the season, distinguished itself as the class of the NFL. And we have the MVP case that, again, both Cousin Sal and Raheem the Dream on the Bills, on Josh Allen as an MVP candidate. Love it this season. The thing with this game, and the reason that I'm taking the Bills, they're only plus 118 on the money line, is this Baltimore defense cannot be trusted. We have seen it now enough times. The impact of Mr. McDonald moving on to Seattle. Baltimore can't put pressure on anybody, 4th lowest pressure rate, and they're allowing a ton of explosive plays, top 5 rate of explosive plays. They are 24th in pass defense EPA. Their coverage grades are not very good. And while it is true that Buffalo and Josh Allen have been running the ball to protect the ball, to keep Josh Allen from turning the ball over, there are holes in the middle of this Baltimore defense, and that is the spot that these receivers, they like to run these crossers. That open middle of the field is exploitable. I also, for Baltimore, don't like what we're seeing out of their offensive line. Now, their offense, all credit, I mean, you just have to tip your hat, as always, to Lamar Jackson. They've been pretty efficient, but it's a rotating cast on that offensive line, especially on the right side. And how about Von Miller turning back the clock? Von Miller, it's like 10 years ago version of him. He's setting up Greg Rousseau, who's got a breakout, a top edge rusher. And to the Bills' credit, they've been good in the past scheming against Lamar. Again, not a huge sample size, 3 games, but he's never thrown for even 170 yards against the Bills. He's averaged less than 6 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks, and he also hasn't been out running. Buffalo's defensive schemes have not let him get out there running around. He's only going over 40 yards rushing once. So I'm on the Bills. I like the class of the NFL. I'm just excited for this game, gents.
Hey, it's going to be a good one, and I have an SGP that might be correlated to Bills and Ravens. And I want to give this stat as far as underdogs are concerned. Our esteemed producer, Jack, gave this to me. I wanted to make sure we share it. Dogs of 6+ points, 12-1 ATS so far this season. Sal, you're giving us a 6+ point dog and a team that unfortunately nobody on this show can quit.
I had Jaguars as my dog last week. It was terrible. It had Vince McMahon legal defense team capability. Like, it was a disaster of epic proportions. And I'm going back to them, JJ. I'm usually a grudge bet player, but not this time. I still don't think there's a ton of difference between first and second in the AFC South. Maybe shake me loose. Maybe I'm bad here. But Houston obviously didn't show up against Minnesota. We saw some flaws, right, for them. This is a kitchen sink game for Doug Peterson. Maybe next week too, but this is 8 losses in a row. If he makes this 9 and then 10 against the Colts, he's gone. No doubt about it. And I think Trevor Lawrence steps up. Texans, like I said, not great against Minnesota, and 22nd in the league in points scored, 23rd in points allowed. So you may not need a lot to beat the Texans here. I'm going with the Jaguars. Yeah, they're plus 198, and that's a real dog, JJ. Not like you, minus 102 with the Bucks. That's not a dog at all. That has a beak and wings. That doesn't resemble a dog in any capacity. I'm sorry. I love you, but that's not
Listen, when we had to submit our picks, Tampa Bay fit the dog description, and I'm not going to get cute. I'm not going to try to give you one just for the sake of giving you one that's monstrous at 2-1 or 2.5-1. Hey, if it wins, that's all that matters, Sal. Sorry.
Not a dog. I'm taking this up with Simmons and HR and whoever else will listen.
No, you can. You can take it up with our esteemed Jack Wilson, and we can go from there. All right, Raheem, you're going with an undefeated team as a dog of the week.
Yes, I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings, plus 128 on the money line. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but this Vikings defense is for real. Ryan Flores, I mean, he is just doing his thing right now. You're talking about a team that's only allowing 17 points a game. They are the first team since the 2001 Bucks to have 5+ sacks in each of their first 3 games of the season. They're third in EPA per play, first in quarterback pressures, first in sacks. They've only allowed 2 touchdown passes, and they have 5 picks on the year. They sacked Brock Purdy 6 times and, turned him over twice. They held CJ Stroud to just 7 points. Now you got Jordan Love entering this game, and it speaks volumes that this line is only 2.5 with Jordan Love. And we talk a lot about September football being the new preseason. Well, Jordan Love, he only played 1 game in the preseason where he threw 2 passes, and then he played against the Philadelphia Eagles. So he hasn't played a lot of football at all. He's coming off of that MCL sprain and has to face what is potentially the best defense in the league. And then when you look at the other side of the ball, look at this Green Bay Packers defense. Sam Darnold might be the best quarterback they've played. They played Jalen Hurts, but then they got to play Anthony Richardson and they got to play Will Levis, both quarterbacks who aren't good at all. So this is both a step up in class for the Packers offensively and defensively. So I think the Minnesota Vikings have a great chance of winning this game, and I'm going to take them on the money line. I think this line should be about a pick 'em.
Raheem rolling one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. And guys, You know, for the first time in 70 years, the biggest dog on the NFL board in week 1, in week 2, and in week 3 won outright. So by that logic, Sal, as my earpiece falls out, we should have taken the Patriots, huh?
Yeah, I know. And also, JJ, I think this is, in fact, I know that this is the first time we've seen a 10-point spread, right? Patriots and 49ers?
That is double digits. Yes, sir.
Yeah, gross. And it's going to go down again, isn't it?
So that should have been my pick. That's really what you're telling me.
Yeah.
That should have been my pick. All right, forget about man's best bet now. We're moving on. I got an SGP, and House nailed it. The game of the week, I cannot wait to sit down and watch this one, is Josh Allen taking on Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to have an SGP for Sunday Night Football. We're going to take both quarterbacks to go with rushing props. Lamar Jackson going to have 50-plus rushing yards against that Bills defense. I'm going to take Josh Allen to have 25-plus rushing yards against the Raven D. Now, you know this about Baltimore. They got King Henry in the mix. He's going to go and score a touchdown in this game, and I hate going against my guy House. That is really a theme of the show. JJ and House going mano-a-mano. I'm taking Arizona against his C-words, and I am taking Baltimore against his man's best bet. I think the Ravens and the fact that they are favored in this game against the undefeated Buffalo Bills is rather telling. I think it's another big week for Lamar and Baltimore. I'm taking the Ravens outright. Jackson, 50-plus rushing. Allen, 25-plus rushing. And King Henry to go and score a touchdown. All right, now
what
our
is that?
SGPs
Sorry,
are
JJ.
concluded.
What does that pay? What is that? I like that.
5-1, Sal. You like it?
You know, I like it, but I also might do it the other way, too, where you have the Bills winning plus your other 3. You take both, and then you don't have to worry about who wins a game on a Tucker miss or make at the end. But I like that because that would pay about 6 or 7 to 1, right? I like taking both.
The only thing that scares you, Raheem, Josh Allen is not running as much as he's run in years past. It's been a lot more of the James Cook show, but I think in a game like this, knowing how tight it's going to be, knowing at times where the quarterback's going to just have to go and improvise, I think both of these quarterbacks are going to run like crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So I like the same game parlay. I'm not crazy about the Ravens. I'm with Sal on this one. I like the other 3 legs, and I think you could give or take which one of these teams win. But I think that's a good parlay.
Now you guys got me toying with alternate spreads. Nah, I'm still taking my Ravens to go and win the game. All right, guys, let's get in the lab. It's time to start cooking up our family meal for week 4. Sal, I'm starting with you. I've been giving out way too many contributions, so I got to kind of sit back here for a moment. How are we kicking off the family meal?
All right, listen, we're kicking it off with cat food, which I don't think you guys have had in a while, but it's gotten a lot better. Purina cat chow, very, very good. No, I do this because it's between the Bengals and the Panthers, 2 cat teams, and now I hate it because I'm going against Raheem's pick, I'm going against House's pick, although all 3 of our picks could potentially win. I'm just approaching it a different way. I'm going Bengals, Panthers, under 23.5 in the first half. Guys, I just think this is going to be one of 5 or 6 1 p.m. kickoff games that we see where both quarterbacks have like 60 yards passing at halftime, and it's like a 10-6 game. You know what I'm talking about. So under 23.5 is the way to go. Even with that great start against the Raiders, Panthers average 8 points per half. Cincy and Zach Taylor, they make a living off of getting off to slow starts, both in the season and in the games. 13 on Monday in a short week in the first half. Like I said, we're going to look at that box score, and there's not going to be a lot there. I feel bad I'm going against everyone, but under 23.5 combined first half. This is cat food, a ho-hum first half of a game. Like I said, 10-7, I'll say at half. Go under.
Hey, that's fine. Get your under in the first half,
Yep.
and then let's have some insane scoring in the second half,
right.
and we'll go from there. And then everybody's happy, and everybody can win, and we go from there. I'm going with this game as well for my contribution for the family meal, and I'm going with T. Higgins. T. Higgins had his first week back against Washington. He's got his sea legs under him. Now I think he's ready to go and feast. It was a whole lot of Jamar Chase in week 3. I think Joe Burrow is going to look to get his other receiver heavily involved in this one. We're taking T. Higgins over 50 yards. I think he's probably in the 70 to 80-yard range. Don't be surprised if he goes and scores a touchdown. Let's bring a little Skyline chili, a little T. Higgins action for our family meal. Okay, Raheem, what are you bringing in a meal?
I'm bringing some no piles tacos to the for everybody to eat. I like Caleb Williams over 220.5 passing yards. He's playing the Rams, and I don't know if people have noticed, but the Rams are one of the worst defenses in the NFL this year. You're talking about 31st in DVOA, 31st against the pass, 31st in dropback EPA per play, 26th in dropback success rate. And Caleb Williams had the best game of his career against the Indianapolis Colts last week. He had 363 passing yards, and he has a ton of weapons to throw to. DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. He gets Keenan Allen back for this matchup. So I think he's going to pass all over this Rams defense. I mean, you look at the Rams. They gave up 288 passing yards to Brock Purdy and 258 to Kyler Murray, and it was basically extended garbage time. So I expect Caleb Williams to have a monster day today. I think 220.5 is way too short. I think you can even go alternate, but for the sake of this meal, we're going 220.5 over.
Oh, I love it, Raheem. And I'm telling you, I might add the Bears and double it. Even though it's a route line, the idea of the Rams with that coach and that quarterback getting points with the way Caleb Williams and the way the Bears have looked, I think it's a big day for the youngster in Chicago. Okay, House, last but not least, you're not bringing dessert. You're bringing a little something more substantial for the final leg of the family meal.
I don't know what I'm bringing because Raheem took my tacos. Those tacos are belong.
Oh, he took your tacos? You had some fish going on the graphic. It looks like a little
salmon
salmon or a little sea bass.
The salmon is for Caleb because of the clean living that he occupies. But for Caleb, really, let's just give him a half smoke from Ben's chili dogs here in the nation's capital. I know he gets down with that. We're fine. I'll put anything on the table. It'll get eaten if I'm sitting there. We're obviously going to the highest scoring game on the board. We got to find somebody at a chair who can sit down and enjoy this magnificent points feast. We're looking at Greg Dortch. Yeah, Dortch. It's Dortch time. Main beneficiary of the Trey McBride injury. Kyler and this Cardinals passing offense, quietly elite. Mouth-watering matchup against the C-words this week. I love them, but the defense just leaves so much to be desired. We like very much the idea of Kyler going to Dortch as his security blanket with McBride out. Dortch is going to be in the same areas of the field, short in the intermediaries. We're only asking him to get over 3.5 catches. It's a minus number, but when you put it all together in this magnificent feast, it's a plus table, fellas.
Oh, I like a plus table. Now, our family meal. We're going Bengals, Panthers, under 23.5 in the first half. We are going T. Higgins, over 50 receiving yards. We got Caleb Williams, over 220.5 passing yards. And Mr. Dortch, over 3.5 receptions. Our payout, a little under 10-1 on this fine Sunday. Sal, is this going to be the week that the family meal finally comes home to roost?
No, it is. No, yes, it is. We're gonna win this, JJ. I nice recovery there. I like it. 10-1. Let's.
I caught you. All right, guys, let's take a look at who's in and who's out for Week 4 as far as injuries are concerned. And we mentioned Lane Johnson. He is not going to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you look at the Eagles, when he plays and when he doesn't, the record is eye-opening. Now, as far as a couple of guys who are going to give it a go, Keenan Allen for the Chicago Bears, going to help out Raheem's prop for the family meal with Caleb Williams. He is going to be back. Deebo Samuel, who did not play last week, and the Niners sure missed him. He will give it a go against the Podfathers New England Patriots. And this was a big one that was being monitored throughout the week, and I think people were trying to figure out what was going to go down with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is going to try and play against the Kansas City Chiefs. And, that line ended up getting pretty inflated from a Kansas City perspective. Now it looks like Herbert's going to give it a go. Raheem, I thought about that one for Dog of the Week. The Chiefs, the problem with the Chiefs is they probably won't cover the game, but they'll do just enough to win it. So for man's best bet, it doesn't do me any good just to give a dog who's going to cover. They got to go and win. You think the Chargers are alive in this spot?
I don't think the Chargers are alive. I don't think the Chargers are very good at all. And I think, that was covered up by playing weak opponents the first 2 weeks. And I think we saw last week against the Steelers, they came down to their actual level. This game's very difficult for me to handicap at the end of the day. We all know Mahomes between -3 and +3. That's when you want to bet on him. But other than that, it's very tough to back them here. So I'm staying away from this game.
Raheem, I was wondering, because I was stunned at this line more than any when Simmons and I did guess the line Sunday night. I couldn't believe it opened at 8.5. I'm like, all right, this is a foregone conclusion. Herbert's not playing. Now he is playing, and it's only 7.5. That's a difference between Heineke and Justin Herbert, 1 point.
Yeah, it's very stunning for me as well. But I think, when you look at the fact that Herbert is a little banged up, I just don't think that they're giving him full credit. I think the look-ahead line on this was probably like 4 or so. So I think they just, the market has just adjusted the Chargers down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a number that tells you that the market doesn't believe he's going to play the whole game, that he might go out there and give it a go. It might be just like what we saw against Pittsburgh. Other noteworthy injury that I've been monitoring like a hawk was Jair Alexander, who's been ruled out, and that is relevant to both.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
That's a big deal, House.
Yes, my team total pick with the Vikings going over 20.5 and Dreams underdog pick, that's a big deal because that Packers defense already has been, to me, the beneficiary of some outlier variance going up against this Vikings offense. This is not your grandmother's Vikings offense. This is a dynamic offense that's going to get vertical with these guys. The second coming of Sam Darnold. Congratulations.
Gents, let's hit a couple of YouTube comments. Sal, I know what your thought is going to be on this one, so I'm going to ask Raheem. A Jet Texan, 6-point tease. Who screws it up, Raheem?
I'm going to go with the Texans.
Wow. I don't love
the Texans are the most overrated team in the NFL.
He's right.
I agree with that. And guys, for what it's worth, I like Jacksonville as well. I just know what has happened for all of us when we get involved with Jacksonville. It doesn't
it's a divisional game, and divisional games are a lot different.
Okay, this one, Raheem, it's suited to you. What overs do you like today for Chris Godwin?
I like over receiving yards. I think FanDuel has it at 66.5. It opened around 59. You're kind of getting the worst of it, but I still would take it. I also would take over, 5.5 receptions as well.
Sal, do you like Brock Bowers overs today with no Adams, or is it a stay away after what you saw from the Raiders last week?
Yeah, I didn't hone in on his exact numbers, but I love him anytime you can with him. Just the way he catches and spins and doesn't want to go down, and he creates yards after the catch. So I'm a Brock Bowers over guy until I receive any other news. What is he now? Oh, 51.5? Yeah, I think he's good for 5 for 65.
That's juicy. We got a lot more coming your way on YouTube TV. You want to stay with us. For our friends at FanDuel TV, we will be back same time, same place. We're going to have Anthony DeBundo joining us in about 15 minutes or so. He's going to weigh in on our wise wager. He's going to weigh in on his dog of the week. All that and more for House, Raheem, Cousin Sal, and JJ. Stay with us on YouTube TV. Sayonara, FanDuel TV.
All right, who's your number 2 bummer?
Yeah, it is the Cleveland Browns, and there's really a case for them to be number 1. I mean, you look at this team, I don't think we've appreciated how terrible Deshaun Watson has been. Like when we talk about it, we're like, oh, he hasn't lived up to the hype. He hasn't been quite what they expected. Last 3 years, Bill, 39 quarterbacks have had 500 dropbacks. He ranks 36th in success rate ahead of Davis Mills, Zach Wilson, and Bryce Young. Like, it's time to take the kid gloves off when we talk about just his on-field performance, let alone the off-field stuff. He's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL for 3 years.
Wasn't he been one of the worst Browns quarterbacks like ever? Like Austin Gale had a tweet about that. About and the Browns have had 2.5 decades of terrible quarterbacks, and he's like at the bottom.
The minute they gave him that deal, he became the most powerful guy in the organization other than the owner. Because now if you're the owner, you say, we're tied to him for 2 more years. You're going to bench him for Jameis Winston, and we're paying our backup $46 million per year, and we gave up all that draft capital. So that's one option. 2 is you keep trotting him out there. I mean, I don't know where that's going to get you. You've had years to figure this out, and now you have your worst offensive line situation, so you can't do that. And then look ahead to the offseason. Can you run this back? in 2025 with the same coach, the same GM, and the same quarterback and say it's going to be different this year? I don't think so. I think the coach and the GM are pretty good. Like, I think they would get hired pretty quickly if they were out there on the open market. And now you have this lawsuit and these allegations of sexual assault. So is he going to be facing a suspension? It's just like, this is one of the most hopeless situations in the NFL. They have no chance to compete in the AFC with this guy, and they also have no way out of this.
Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame here on YouTube TV. The fellas are with you for the next half hour, getting you ready for week 4. Cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer, Joe House, John Jastremski. In case you missed our wise wagers for this Sunday of NFL football, let's take a look at what you're cooking up for the 4 wise guys. We got a Minnesota Viking team total for Joe House. Sal going back to the well with the Detroit Lions, laying 3 and a hook against the Seattle Seahawks. Raheem feeling a bounce back for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, laying it, and I think it's a good play against the Carolina Panthers. And I'm going back to my favorite, the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to be breaking Joe House's commies' hearts on this fine Sunday. Kyler and company laying the 3.5. And House, we hit on this Jair Alexander injury right before we said goodbye to our friends over at FanDuel TV. This is a huge deal. He's one of the premier corners in the league. He was going to be matching up with Justin Jefferson. There was some smack talk between those two throughout the course of the week. I mean, I like your pick that much more knowing Jair Alexander not going to play.
Yeah, that 20.5. I also, with that, development, you put that alongside the fact that the total in this game has been going up. It was 43.5 earlier in the week. Now it's all the way up to 44.5. And I'm asking for the Vikings to only get to 21. I like this Vikings offense. And I do think an element of it will be lots of possessions for the Vikings, because Dream hit on the crucial point. We don't have a lot of Jordan Love football thus far this season. Couple touches in the preseason, a game against the Eagles, and that's it. It's still preseason for him with this offense. So I'm very bullish on the idea of the Vikings getting to 21 today, fellas.
You know, Raheem, could you see, as we move closer to kickoff, this line potentially moving with the Minnesota Vikings? Do you think the books are pretty comfortable and confident where they have it right about now?
Well, I mean, I think we're about an hour away from game time. I think all of the sharp bets are in. I mean, it's mostly just the public, and I just don't think they're going to move on to the 3 or they're going to move this down. So I think we're stuck at 2.5.
And Sal, normally you like to get your wives' wager out of the way. Now we got to sit around and wait until Monday night? Come on,
I know.
man.
I was going to try to push it till next Thursday. I think it's Atlanta, New Orleans or something. I don't know, but producers wouldn't let me do it. Yeah, I'm too scared to pull the trigger on a Sunday game anymore. But yeah, I'm sorry. But back to that Minnesota Green Bay game that House is cornered. I think these guys are right. I think this is like a sucker bet, if you will, a foregone conclusion. Jordan Love's coming back. Vikings aren't as good as they seem. We have to take the Packers. Let's circle that left side, the favorite. I don't think that's the case at all. And Jair Alexander injury is big. They have 6 interceptions this year. They had 7 all last year, and he's a big part of that. I think Vikings are the play. House is onto it.
Tell you, the Vikings have been good to your bank account if you've been taking them the first 3 weeks of the year. Now, you know what's going to be good to your bank account? The idea of a FanDuel profit boost that you can use on maybe one of our wise wagers in week 4. And remember, FanDuel, we got bettors covered this NFL Sunday with a host of profit boost tokens to choose from, including the double your winnings boost. You can do so much more. So make sure you opt in on FanDuel so you can apply the different boost to your favorite bets throughout the day. So you can get in touch with our show here on YouTube TV. We got YouTube comments. You guys have been unbelievable with these over the last hour plus. House, I like this one. This from Zolo. Anthony Richardson, under 15.5 completions. I mean, Anthony Richardson going up against one of the better defenses in the league. This reeks of a tough matchup for the youngster. What do you think about under 15.5 completions?
He better get to 16 if that Colts team expects to be on the field for the full 60 minutes. That's an unbelievable number. I do think Shane Steichen, he understands that he needs to create some instability. He can't just let that Pittsburgh front seven pin its ears back and just come and annihilate him. So I bet Anthony Richardson is getting rid of the ball quickly and maybe behind the line of scrimmage. I honestly would be inclined to play the over there.
Fair enough. Raheem, the Sports Guy 301 is kind of bummed about your wise wager because you had the Ravens last week and he wants you to go and do it again. He said they won't let you down, but you are not willing to do so.
I'm not willing to do so at all. And I think a big reason why is because when I look at the Buffalo Bills, they appear to be a juggernaut. And I think there's going to be spots to fade the Buffalo Bills in the future. I also think there's going to be spots to bet the Buffalo Bills in the future, like next week against the Texans. But, that's neither here nor there. But right now, I think last week's Ravens win said a lot more about the Cowboys than it did about the Ravens. So I need them to kind of prove themselves. But I do think there's going to be a lot of sharp money on the Ravens here. You're looking at the Bills. They have the best point differential in the NFL, and they're catching points. So that sounds like a trap, but I'm not buying into it.
See, I think it kind of is, Raheem. That's why I'll be playing Baltimore on Sunday, and we'll see where it goes. Sal, you like a long shot MVP bet. Any interest on Sam Darnold at 30-1, or is that a complete lottery ticket?
No, I think that's silly. He's done great with the Vikings so far, and I even like them today. But if you look at that number, what he did 4 years ago, it was kind of the same thing. It was 2021. I think it was 21. He won his first 3, and I think lost 7 of his last 8. I'm not looking at that drastic a number, but the MVP, let's face it comes from a number 1 or a number 2 seed. I don't think the Vikings have it in them to get that far.
Fair enough. Okay, let's get to our knockout pool where, let's be honest, everybody is out. Our eliminator picks. You guys had the Bengals. I haven't won one. And just to give you a little reference, I've gone with the biggest favorite on the board each of the first 3 weeks. I gave you the Bengals week 1. I gave you Baltimore in week 2. Now, last week, actually, I lied because the Raiders were under the Bengal favorite total. So right. Cincinnati was a bigger favorite. But you get my drift. If you bet $100 on each of my eliminator picks, just so you know, you'd be, if you're taking a dog, I should say. If you were taking a dog, if you were just fading me, you went New England plus 325, you went Vegas in week 2 at plus 350, and you had Carolina at plus 220, you'd be up 6G. So
wow.
A little food for thought.
Wow.
Yeah.
6G JJ.
Money.
Fade JJ knockout pick. And guess what? We get to do it one last time because we are actually going to continue this, guys, until I get one right. Okay? I think that's only fair.
Yes.
Like, if I keep losing with these, we need to keep helping the people out. So, for my knockout pick for week 4, JETS, Jets. There is no way in the world Bo Nix is going in and beating that Jet defense. Aaron Rodgers played brilliantly in week 3. Extra time to prepare. JETS, Jets. Sal, what can go wrong here?
Well, listen, I got a lot of crap for saying let's pump the brakes on the Aaron Rodgers is great thing, right? Like he, against Tennessee 4 days earlier, he didn't exactly light it up, and then he beats up on the Patriots like, wow, he's back. Let's get the Super Bowl reservations going for the Jets. It could be a little bit overvalued here, and it could be that Bo Nix is picking it up a little bit. We saw what he did last week. So maybe it's a closer game than everybody thinks, and now that you picked the Jets, it's definitely at least going to overtime, right?
It's a must-play money line play immediately on the Broncos.
Why, you're locking in Denver? Fair enough.
There were many other options this week. Like we just got through, the favorites could take care of business. Just take San Francisco. Just do the easy thing. This Jets game, I think, has the potential to be much closer. Patrick Surtain against Mr. Wilson, I think, is a pretty formidable matchup. And then that Broncos rush defense is pretty good. So if they make the Jets one-dimensional, there is a pathway here. Obviously, Bo Nix on the road, second, consecutive week on in a rest disadvantage. Those things all make sense, but this is not the one that's live. Go do the easy thing, for Christ's sakes.
He's been doing the easy thing. It doesn't work.
That's why I'm trying to get a little cute. So, House, you're taking the Niners as what is your knockout pick? It's not
Cincinnati. I lost them all last week. We'll do them again. Cincinnati.
Why not? Cincinnati
Right.
again.
Yeah.
Sally, you going the easy way?
I'm going the Niners. Yeah, we haven't talked about this game much, but listen, only your pick matters here. So this is we're all eliminated from this eliminator thing. But 49ers are winning. They have Kittle back. They have Samuel back. By the way, this is a good stat, I think, from Action. Double-digit favorites after blowing a 14-point lead the week before, as the Niners did to the Rams. 11-0 straight up. So this is as safe as it gets historically if you want an eliminator pick.
Raheem, you have one for me?
Yeah, I'm going with the Jets. I think, last week's win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers said more about the Buccaneers' injuries to their secondary. And I think this is a great spot to sell high on the Denver Broncos. I probably would lay to 7 with the Jets as well. I think there's a reason why, last week they were 6.5-point underdogs. They come back. They win in blowout fashion. And then they come back and they're getting more points against the Jets. I think the Jets win this by 10 or so.
All right, before we say goodbye to our buddy Joe House, anytime touchdown parlay that you might want to use with that profit boost on FanDuel. Tyreek Hill hasn't scored since week 1. I think they look to get him involved. I'll take him at plus 175 to go and score a touchdown. House, give me an anytime.
Even money, Marvin Harrison Jr., this is an emotional hedge. Might as well make some money if the Cardinals are going to beat the C words today. That's my contribution to this anytime touchdown parlay.
Sal.
Kyron Williams for the Rams minus 145. I think I played against him in all 14 fantasy leagues last week, and he crushed me in all 14. No reason to think he won't score today. He scored in 6 of his last 7 games.
Raheem.
It's an Aaron Jones revenge game. We're going to go Aaron Jones anytime touchdown plus 120. I wish I could parlay that with him doing a Lambeau leap, but for some reason, FanDuel doesn't offer that.
All right, we got to get on that, FanDuel. We got to get on that. All right, coming up, we'll have the Podfathers 4-box for week 4. Is it going to involve his favorite play of the week? Is he looking to go storylines? I don't know what Simmons is thinking. House, we'll see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your football Sunday. Billy Boy, what's the 4-box?
Now it's time for a special part of today's episode sponsored by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV, my friend. NFL Sunday Ticket, awesome features to help you stay on top of all the action, like multi-view, where you can watch up to 4 games at once. And believe me, I've been doing it every single Sunday. You can layer on stats and fantasy views to track your favorite teams and players. And by the way, when you bundle NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get access to every game every Sunday. That's the most live NFL games all in one place. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games. Excludes digital-only games, device, and content restrictions apply. YouTube TV, I think you know this. They've crowned me their CMO, their Chief Multi-View Officer, to help pick the top 4 games of the week that you should watch with multi-view. So we're going to go early games this week. There's 3 really good ones that I'm excited about, and then one that I'm personally excited about. So Vikings, Packers, that's a must. That has to be on every multi-view. I don't know if you have a favorite corner on the multi-view. I think my favorite spot is lower left, but Vikings, Packers, Saints, Falcons. That NFC South is going to change another 100 times over the course of the next 15 weeks, but that's going to be a really good one. Eagles, Bucks, rematch of the playoff game last year where the Bucks really beat up on the Eagles. Is this a revenge spot for the Eagles? Who knows? And then last but not least, Jaguars, Texans. 2 teams coming off losses. The Jaguars 0-3. Their whole season's on the line. A lot of fantasy guys in this on both of the teams, and this will be maybe a little AFC South. If the Texans win this, they might be cruising to the AFC South. So those would be my 4. Of course, with the multi-view builder this year, I don't know if you've noticed that, you can even customize which 4 NFL games you want to watch. So if you like 3 of those, knock out the 4th one you don't like, go into the multi-view builder, throw in the one you want, log in, select build a multi-view, pick out the 4 games you want to watch. Thanks again to our friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch every single game every Sunday when you bundle NFL Sunday Ticket with YouTube TV. Sign up today at youtube.com/BS. And you can watch the Ringer Sunday pregame show before all these games as well. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games. Excludes digital-only games. Device and content restrictions apply.
Thanks, Simmons. Appreciate it. I'm stunned he doesn't have the Steelers in there, considering how much he loves the Steelers this week. But be that as it may, we welcome in our pal, Anthony DeBundo. He's back with us here on the Ringer Sunday pregame. Mr. DeBundo is a Syracuse guy. I know you like my festive attire. I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, it really pops with the green background, the Spotify there.
Well, what can I say? The orange and green, it's just the way we drew it up. Speaking of drawing up some winners for us, we'll let you weigh in on our wise wagers in a moment, but you got to come out of the gate firing. What's your favorite play for week 4?
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills plus 2.5. And I kind of went back and forth on this game a little bit, but at the end of the day, I do have Buffalo rated as the best team in the NFL. And so I'm going to just kind of trust that. And I get it. And everybody's going to say, oh, it's a trap line and Baltimore's a small favorite. I know you guys have kind of gone head to head on this game, but Buffalo's offensive line is performing at an elite level. They're getting pressure, which was a problem for them last season defensively. I think they're better in the trenches and more reliable in the trenches than Baltimore is right now. And I agree with what Raheem just said, that the Ravens win last week kind of says more about Dallas than it does Baltimore. I'm still concerned that this Ravens secondary has real holes as well. So I'm trusting Allen in what is not a great spot, coming off a 30-point win, now going on the road off Monday night, but I still think they're the better team. So I'm going to take the 2.5.
So DeBundo, I agree with you. I think Buffalo is the better team. I just think the spot is horrific for them. It's a short week. They're coming off a monstrous Monday night game. And you mentioned it. They look better than Baltimore. They power rate better than Baltimore. Maybe you can enlighten me here. Why am I getting 2.5 with the Bills?
I think sometimes the market is just a little slow to catch up to a team. I mean, 2 weeks ago, they were plus 2.5 in Miami. I didn't quite understand that line. They got bet aggressively against on Monday, got bet down to 4. So clearly the market isn't quite buying the Bills yet. I'm willing to buy them, even if the market isn't. So I think in a couple of weeks we may look back and, maybe it is a bad spot, but more often than not, I think the market's slow here on Buffalo, catching up to how good they actually are.
Okay, so you're in on the Bills. Now, your dog of the week is going to coincide with Cousin Sal's dog of the week. And I'm going to tell you, DeBundo, the same thing I just told Sal. I agree with your pick. I see where you guys are going. But you guys just can't quit the Jacksonville damn Jaguars.
I was hoping you would use Houston as your survivor pick. I would have felt good about the Jags.
No, I understand that. I went with the Jets instead. So sorry. Sorry in advance.
As producer, if I can change my pick to the Jets. No, I'm going to go with the Jags. I think I get it, right? Like nobody wants to bet Jacksonville. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to tell you that the Jags are a good team, that they're playing well. But Houston's offense is a bit of a disaster. Guess where they rank in passing success rate this year?
26.
11th.
26th.
Wow,
yeah, Raheem and I do a podcast on
cheating.
Wednesdays. So
yeah, that's cheating. That's
my
not
fault.
fair.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought it was a trick question.
No, it's 26th. I mean, they've got all these weapons and how talented CJ Stroud is. Early downs, their bottom 6 offense. I mean, they're basically just relying on Stroud bailing them out on the late downs. So I just don't really buy this Houston team, and they're getting a ton of market love. They got blown out too last week. They couldn't score in the second half against Chicago. That's 6 straight quarters of just pretty awful play. I don't really buy it with Houston. So for them to be laying 6.5 against what we still think is a competent quarterback, although I'm less certain of that every week, I'm going to go with the Jags as my dog of the week, 2-1. Good enough for me.
I like it. And defensively, not great either for Houston, right? I mean, I get you can't sing songs about anything with Jacksonville, right? Where they rank anywhere. But defensively, bottom third for Houston. So if you score in that 20 to 24 range, you're right in there, I think.
So I'm going to ask the two of you this. If Houston goes and wins this game by double digits, are you officially DeBundo and Sal done with the Jaguars? Like, is this the point of no return here in week 4?
Yeah, I think the Jaguars are done with the Jaguars at that point. I mean, Doug Peterson really kind of has to go. You can't let this guy lose 14 in a row, right? With a capable team. They spent a lot of money in the offseason. They were in it to win it. And to think that they're going to keep just the losing ways over and over, the owner may have to regroup from bottom up, and that includes the great Doug Peterson.
What do you think so they go to London in a couple weeks. They had that 2-week London trip.
Oh, yeah.
What are the odds that Doug Peterson makes the plane back?
Wow.
They might leave him on Abbey Road with the shoes off like McCartney.
Yeah.
It's a real possibility. If they lose to go to 0-4, let's say they split the London games, and they're like 1-5, 1-6, like he might just not make it back.
And Con will say enough is enough. Okay, the bundle. I want you to weigh in on our wise wagers. I'm going to start with Raheem's wise wager. He took Cincinnati. They're winless. They're taking on Carolina after their big win. Raheem pointed out a couple of key injuries for Carolina offensively. I'm with him on this game. Where do you stand on the Bengals laying the points?
Yeah, so I did take some Bengals team total over, mainly because I still don't really trust this defense, and I'm still a believer. I know 2 weeks ago we were joking about the Panthers. I still think this offense is going to be pretty good this year. Their offensive line's grading out extremely well, like one of the best in the league. And that against the Cincinnati D-line that can't stop anything and can't get pressure, I'm a little concerned about the back door, but certainly like directionally agree with Raheem. Like this Bengals offense is operating at peak efficiency. I don't know how the Panthers get any pressure or stops. Like Joe Burrow, -110, no interception. Joe Burrow, 2+ touchdowns to Chase is interesting to me because like the corners are rough in Carolina as well. In the secondary is just not grading out well in the coverage metrics. So I'm going to go Cincinnati. Team total I like more than the spread, but certainly agree with Raheem directionally.
Okay, DeBondo. The Cardinals have been good to me. In week 1, they were right there with Detroit. I actually came away maybe even more impressed with Arizona after a loss and after a non-cover. I love them this week. Washington beats Cincinnati. Washington on a short week. They got to go fly across the country. Kyler Murray's playing lights out. That Commies defense still stinks. You like my Arizona 3 and a hook play?
This one's this. I'm joining cousin Sal. I think on the stay away for this one. I don't want to lay 3.5 with the defense that Arizona has. I mean, Washington's offense is real. It looks real to me, and they move the ball every game. So I'm just afraid of how many stops Arizona gets. I know they pitched a shutout somehow last week in the second half, but I think that says more about the Lions than it does the Cardinals. I'm very hesitant on laying more than 3 here. At 3, I think I would consider it, but at 3.5, I'm gonna have to easily stay away from this one. I actually don't have any money on this, and of course, it's like the most exciting game of the day. So I probably regret not having.
So
it.
you think this game maybe has like backdoor? What are you smelling? A little backdoor cover here, DeBondo?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're always live there.
Sal, I don't need that. For my wise wager, I don't want to be sweating out a 10-point Arizona lead with 2.5 minutes.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea who wins this game. Am I alone in this? Like, I mean, I know this is your wild wager, but Anthony, am I alone in thinking that Washington is live in this game based on how well their offense is performing?
I think certainly. I mean, there's nothing fluky about it. You could look at maybe some of the defenses they played. The Giants, they get moved on by everybody, and same with the Bengals and same with the Bucs. But like, there's a metric called series success rate, which is how often do you turn 1st and 10 into another 1st and 10, or you score. They're top 3. Their offense has not been stopped. I mean, of course, they haven't punted in 2 weeks. Like all of this, I think is concerning because Arizona's defense, like they're not going to get pressure. They're not going to like jam you. They're going to be very passive. I think next week is the week I've circled where I want to go against Washington because I think the Browns defense might cause some real problems.
Yeah, this is a weird one because, JJ, you're right. I mean, in the beginning of the year, Arizona had to have this circled on the calendar as one of the games they needed absolutely to win, right, to compete in the NFL. But I have, and I know teasers don't work, but I have that adjusted. There's a reason this is the highest over-under of the week at 50.5. I have adjusted over 44.5 on a multitude of different parlays. So, again, I know it doesn't work, but there's no defense. There's no defense at all. So it's going to be a slugfest till the end.
Yeah, this feels like last team with the ball wins.
Wow, Raheem, I am very surprised that you're making a case for Washington here in this spot. And I think, listen, I get it. Offensively speaking, they've been terrific. I just think sometimes spot means a lot in the NFL. Off an emotional win, a short week, a cross-country flight. To me, those are a lot of factors working against Washington in this particular game. So I'm pretty confident. I like Arizona to get it done. All right, DeBundo. Sal is making us wait till Monday night for his wise wager. He's laying it for the 2nd straight week with Detroit at 3.5. Your thoughts?
All right, well, we're going head to head. I am falling hook, line, and sinker for the Mike McDonald bandwagon. I'm driving the bus. I'm gonna do a cross country trip all the way to Seattle if they win and get to 4-0. I went on Bills pod and gave them out as my favorite future or second favorite future. Them just doing well this year, over wins, division, etc. I am still concerned about the Lions' offense, and I get that they've been a successful running team and that the Seahawks don't have Murphy or Williams. They still have Hankins in there. Like, I think they can scheme up a decent enough run defense. I just don't know what happened to Jared Goff. Like, they're bottom 10 in pass metrics, and it doesn't look like things are clicking. They're in sync. Like, the only way they score now with passes is hook and laterals. When you're resorting to the gimmick plays, that's not a great sign for the offense. And they played 3 of the worst defenses in the league back-to-back weeks. And what? They got to 20 against the Rams. They got to 16 against the Bucks. They couldn't score in the red zone. And then last week, they got shut out in the second half. So I think I'm a little concerned. Actually, I'm a lot concerned about the Lions' offense. And I think if that's the case, then they are just a little overvalued here at 3.5. So I like Seattle with the hook.
Yeah, I mean, it's alien versus predator, right? Lions have played the worst defenses in the league, and you know what Seattle going on against quarterbacks? What is it, Brissett, Nix, and your guy J.J. Skylar-Thompson? So something has to happen. I just think if the Lions are going to pick up their offense, it's got to be at home sometime in the first quarter of the year.
The Bundo, Sal's got a big day ahead of him. Not only does he have to hit a zillion NFL bets, his beloved New York Mets need a win and a Diamondback loss to get themselves in the postseason. We know Atlanta historically has been a house of horrors for the Mets. There is a chance, as my earpiece falls out for the 10 zillionth time, that we could be looking at the Mets needing to win in Atlanta to go and get themselves in the postseason. So there's a lot of crazy, convoluted stuff with Game 162. But on the baseball board, is there a play for us? Maybe it's a team to go to the World Series. Maybe it's a World Series pick. Maybe it's, somebody to identify for the next few weeks. Who are you going to bring to the table from a baseball standpoint?
It's funny. You know how they have like the sports equinox? Today is like the Dubundo equinox. We've got the Premier League, which is on my laptop to my right now.
Oh, he's got the soccer going.
We've got the baseball.
Sick man.
Baseball final day. Like, I don't have enough TVs to do all of these things. So I'm really struggling today for the Dubundo Equinox. But I really enjoyed it as somebody, I'm a Phillies fan, and I've watched the Mets and the Diamondbacks, who broke the Phillies' hearts last year, just completely take turns collapsing. I think they should just make them play each other. And whoever loses should be banished from the sport. But I think San Diego's really looking sharp. Plus 650 to win the National League. I understand that they could get a really tough 3-gamer with the Braves here, and then they could probably play the Dodgers. But baseball is all about run prevention for me in the playoffs. They are elite defensively. Merrill in center, Machado at third. Like, the key positions that matter, they're very good. Their bullpen is the best in the sport. I think they're going to be a really, really tough out for whoever they have to play. And I think ultimately, like, Philly and San Diego are probably the two I would trust the most. But the one price is a whole lot better. So plus 650. I think the Padres are there. I was actually kind of buying the Mets as a sleeper, but now Lindor's hurt. I think even if they get in, this feels ugly.
Yeah, I think, Padres, by the way, 2 years ago against the Mets, they came in there. I think they had 16 fewer wins, and they beat us up in the first round. So they have a little of that playoff experience. They know how to play the underdog role. But how about JJ? Travis d'Arnaud, he's just a Met killer. I mean, we should have just kept him. Can we just sign him and just stash him? Don't even have to play him. Walks it off for the Braves yesterday, making this even more exciting of a break to end of the season. Gross, Travis d'Arnaud.
I'll tell you this. He looked pretty beautiful in those classic throwback Atlanta Brave Hank Aaron 70s uniforms, which are just outstanding. Sorry, Sal. Just had to say it. All right, Dubundo, you got an SGP for us. We got 2 minutes. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so tune in to Paper Chasers every Friday. Austin, Gayle, and I, we get in the lab, and I've got a 3-game lead in the standings, so I'm feeling good about my current position, but it's a long season. We cooked up a same-game parlay. I did change one of the legs. We're going to go Bills plus 2.5, 2.5 against the Ravens. We've got Shakir, 25-plus receiving yards. I really like the way he's become the focal point of this offense as a receiver. Cook over 2.5 receptions. And then I think one interesting thing, the Ravens still don't trust their O-line. And I think that's evident when they play good teams that have pass rushes. They're getting the ball out really fast. And I think Zay Flowers is a key beneficiary of that. So I go Zay Flowers over 4.5 receptions. All kind of trends to this being a higher scoring game, I think, than the market thinks as well. Plus 564, my Sunday night SGP. By then, maybe the Mets will be either in the playoffs or out.
We shall see. I like that, DeBundo. I'm going to have to tweak it with Buffalo, obviously, but I think you gave out a lot of winners. Speaking of winners, guys, Simmons just texted us an insane parlay he put together. Cardinals, Jags, alt line plus 10.5, Vikings, alt line plus 7.5, and I believe, this text cut off, but I think it's the alt line for the Commanders, Cardinals, over. Raheem, who screws it up?
I'm going to say this is tough for me. It's either the Jaguars at 10.5 or the Cardinals. And I like the Jaguars this week, but to me, I don't see the value in taking 10.5. I think they either keep this close or they lose by 20. There's no in between.
Yeah. They might get rolled again. We all look like idiots. We'll be back here next Sunday.
Boys, you can't back down now. You're in on the Jaguars. That's going to do it. That's going to do it for the Ringer Sunday pregame. The guys are stuck with the Jaguars. For Sal, Raheem, Anthony DeBundo, JJ signing off. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Be good, everybody.